now your video is perfect.
Yeah. That's weird.
Yeah.
All right, we are live and welcome you guys to our live show number 3.
Yeah, hey everyone, thank you so much for being here. It's exciting to be able to connect with people that are doing awesome, inspiring things, and that's what this show is all about. So tonight on the show, we have
Jackson and Aaron from Salt for Food. So they have a really cool podcast, really cool YouTube channel, and basically they try to educate people and inspire people to eat more plants. So very similar to what we are doing, and that's why we are so excited to find people that are like basically the same than us.
Yeah, we're not going to go too much in depth about like what they do because they're going to tell us all about it in this. We're going to take this opportunity to get to know them a little bit more. We've watched a lot of their videos and podcasts, but finally to have them here and talk about their, their history, all of that will be cool. So
yeah, and tonight we brought a drink.
Okay, let's say hey to you guys first.
Hi. Hey guys. Hey, it's awesome to be here. Thank you for having us.
Really appreciate it.
And I love that picture right between both of your heads of the
I see a road
doing
bike as
epic
well.
shit in nature. That's awesome.
I see a road bike over there.
So we have to say thank you to our friend Scott for letting us borrow his office because we don't really have very good internet at our house. We live out in the mountain. So he let us borrow his office
with his drone
in town.
I was like, God, you guys have a drone and everything and like a professional microphone.
None of this is ours. But yeah, we have a tradition in the show. Is like we just bring a healthy drink. So tonight we brought some hibiscus tea, but there is a touch in this hibiscus tea that is special. And that was inspired by you guys. I put some molasses.
Oh yeah.
I put some molasses.
Oh, that's hardcore.
Watching you guys' YouTube channel, and I saw that your argument about molasses, and I think it's awesome.
Okay.
I use it, and it's delicious.
Okay, this is funny because this shows that your guys' stuff is effective. Gwen will not do anything I tell him to do. I bought the molasses a long time ago, and it's been in the cupboard, and I use it. And of course, like, he doesn't remember any of this. And then he watches your guys' vlog, and he's like, I'm doing it.
Yeah,
I love glasses.
That's how family, that's what family and, like, spouses, it's just the psychology of, like, being in a relationship with somebody. Nobody cares. Like, it's like if you have a family member that suddenly becomes a PhD, like, in something, you don't respect them, like, for their PhD. But if you're a stranger, you're like, wow, smarty pants. Like, it's just the way it goes.
That's awesome. That's an interesting combination. I might have to try that.
Oh man, I don't know that I could stomach hibiscus and molasses, but if you love that, man.
I put some lemon in it too, but it's really delicious.
Let me try it. He didn't even
It's
talk.
like you're gonna simultaneously drop your blood pressure and increase your ferritin stores, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah, you must have not put a lot in.
I'm gonna put that in my water bottles in my bike.
We'll have to try that. We'll have to try
that's why.
You might just pass out on your ride from the
Low blood
blood
sugar.
pressure.
All right, cool. So for everyone watching live,
I just have water, by the way.
just water. Cool.
Water.
Yeah, I've got like ice cubes and the same tea. Apparently, I didn't even know. For everyone watching live, thank you so much for watching live, and make sure you get into the chat room. Gwen is going to be checking the computer throughout the whole show. So you guys can ask questions as we go along. Whatever kind of questions you want for us or for them, we're going to try to answer all your questions and get that done. If you're not watching live, sorry, you cannot answer or you cannot ask questions because it's too late. But next time you can. All right, so let's get into it. I guess because there's two of you, we're going to have both of you answer separately. But our first question for you guys is, like, your personal story.
Yeah, kind of like explain us, where you grew up, what you liked doing when you were a kid, and like what was your dream, just how you were living, how you grew up and everything.
Sure. I don't mind starting, and I'll try to keep my answer really protracted so that we don't take too much time doing this. I grew up in Corvallis, Oregon, and grew up kind of in the woods and like Corvallis is kind of like a rural university town. was really into the outdoors and sort of hiking and playing outside in the woods and building forts and doing stuff like that. And never really got into like team sports or anything like that. I didn't really like it. Got into rock climbing really early in my life and just loved hiking and sort of doing like solo sports. That's what I was passionate about. And then later went to college in Eugene, Oregon, went to University of Oregon and then to nursing school. Oh, did you really?
Yeah.
Fuck, that's crazy. What year were you there?
Yeah, but I started in 2007 and then took a huge leave and then came back. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, so I went to University of Oregon and then I went to nursing school at Oregon Health Science University in Portland, Oregon, and during that time sort of I had been working in the climbing industry for a long time, so about 10 years. I was really into climbing, traveled all over the world for climbing, and then got burnt out on that and sort of transitioned into I'd always sort of been a runner as like cross training and got really into long distance trail running and then just sort of worked my way into that and then ran competitively for a little while and then eventually moved to Boulder. And I live here in Boulder, Colorado now with my wife and my kid and our little family of pets and work as a nurse here on the cardiac floor. And the plant-based thing came into the picture back in Eugene. So when I was going to school in Eugene, my wife kind of got me into it. And I've been on various forms of a plant-based diet, whether it's like 100% plant-based or sort of vegetarian for like the last 11 years or so. And I would say the last, 5 or 6 years, I've been totally vegan. So.
Wow. So what was it like when you were growing up, like when you were really young? What was the type of stuff that your family ate?
So my mom would rather commit suicide than spend any time outdoors. So I didn't get any influence from her. Like my mom was the lady who was like complaining every time we went to the coast that her ears hurt because of the wind. And I'm just like, God, Mom. My dad, my parents weren't really an outdoor influence for me. I was just lucky that we grew up kind of in an agricultural area in the woods. And so all of my friends that I hung out with, we did a lot of camping and backpacking and stuff like that. And that was sort of my outdoor influence. But yeah, none of that really came from my family. So I'm sort of like I'm like the black sheep in the family in terms of like the outdoor lifestyle and my diet and stuff like that.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice to get that background on you. What about you, Jonathan?
Yeah, I grew up in the small ski resort town of Sun Valley, Idaho. Represent.
That's legit.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out. It sucks that I cannot even like picture where Sun Valley is. But is it kind of like
really far from you guys?
But it's kind of like halfway in the state, right?
It's like in the middle of the Panhandle, basically.
Okay, so yeah, still up in like the epic part and.
Yeah, it's like 2.5 hours, like north, like west of Boise, sort of.
Yeah, I know it's epic because I've seen photos. I've never been there, but I know it's like other than Sandpoint.
You guys would love it.
I know it's like the next best. I'm pretty biased to Sandpoint though.
I know. I've never been to Sandpoint. Isn't there a lot of white supremacists there?
That is a huge myth. Well, not a huge myth. There used to be like 30 years ago in Coeur d'Alene, but now there's like absolutely none.
But now you guys are trying to, you guys have sort of taken over and you're trying to build back.
In fact, even Sandpoint is like the opposite. Like Idaho is a very red state, as you know, but Sandpoint, maybe like Sun Valley, but I think Sandpoint even more is like pretty, like definitely a blue, town and like very hippie. There's like farmers markets. I went to a Waldorf school. It's very like it's really cool.
That sounds awesome.
Anyway, back to your story.
Yeah, so I grew up in Sun Valley, basically growing up skiing. We live like 15 minutes from a world-class downhill ski resort, Sun Valley. So I grew up doing that, downhill skiing. I was on like the snowboard team for a couple of years there. And then I, it's very similar to Aaron, like grew up being in the outdoors, building forts. And, we lived right up against this giant forest and by the river, and we would just, go play by the river and play outside. And then I got into bike racing when I was 12, road bike racing. My dad used to race and he was super into it. and he actually still races now. But he sort of introduced me to the road bike, and pretty much immediately fell in love with it, and raced kind of all throughout middle and high school. And then at the same time during the winter, I would cross country ski race. So as kind of cross training, I do both of those things. I mean, you can't really ride outside in the winter in Sun Valley. It's pretty harsh winter, but cross country skiing is amazing, and it's one of my favorite sports. And I went to the public high school there, and was really into kind of science and mostly kind of human physiology and how it relates to exercise. And that's sort of what drew me to come to Colorado for school for undergrad. I came to CU Boulder here in Boulder and studied integrative physiology, and was continuing to bike race, and kind of started to progress more in the sport. I raced for the college, won some races, and started to race for actually the top ranked domestic elite team in the country called, it was actually sponsored by Horizon Dairy, which I'm not super proud of, but and Einstein Brothers Bagels. And we had a pretty legit team. I was the young guy on the team, and we raced all over the country. I as a junior, I raced internationally in like Ireland and Belgium and all these places. And then I sort of took cycling a little bit too seriously and became obsessed with performance and weight as a metric for success, basically, and kind of got a little bit, obsessed in a negative way. I took a semester off of school and went and trained in Tucson, Arizona during the winter, and just kind of made not like, I don't really consider them bad decisions, but I was just sort of like that typical insane athlete holed up in a little house, and you don't talk to other people for like days, and that's sort of what was the initial catalyst for me adopting a plant-based diet. And basically what happened was I got too underweight and got really sick. I got walking pneumonia, and it kind of ruined my whole season. I just was performing terribly, and my coach and my team director were like, dude, you need to gain some weight. You're not looking good. And it sort of made me rethink a lot of things, especially diet, but also just my relationship to bike racing and cycling in general. And so I kind of started learning about plant-based nutrition and got really into it. And that sort of brought me to where I am now. And eventually I sort of decided to take a step back from actual racing and just enjoy riding my bike for the beauty of the sport of cycling and adventuring. And that's kind of where we are now, I guess.
So how was your relation with food? Like, what was the part of the food in your life when you were cycling before to be interested in the plant-based?
Yeah. So, well, I mean, I guess during that time, like I was, the young guy on the team. There was a lot of pressure, both externally and internally, from, to perform in the races. And I was, 19 years old, 20 years old, and the rest of the guys were these really high level racers and had a lot more experience than me. And I wanted to be a really good climber. And in order to do that, you have to be pretty light. And I sort of took that to the extreme. So I was counting every calorie and being super obsessed with, eating as little carbs as I possibly could. And like on rest days, I wouldn't eat breakfast and would just eat as little as I could, basically. And
so it's kind of like a low carb, like you were interested in protein. Like, what were some of the things that maybe the team built into your reality of what you needed to eat to be, competitive athlete? Or where did these messages come from in your mind?
It was definitely less from the team and more just from like other friends and, competitors that were sort of in a similar position. And I mean, I don't blame anyone but myself for that kind of stuff. Like I have a very obsessive and addictive personality. And like, luckily I've been able to channel that into like TFF and like what I'm doing now. But, yeah, it was all me. And it was just, I just got out of control with my like obsession with food. And I was viewing it as this kind of enemy sort of thing. And I was like, went through a period of kind of doing a paleo style diet and like would do all these, you know, fasted workouts and then, you know, really just afraid of kind of like eating too much. And I was training 20, 30 hours a week, you know, and doing these crazy rides and races, and it just didn't work out. And luckily it was a very short period of time in the grand scheme of things, you know, it was a few months, but it affected a lot of that season. And it really made me, I was able to kind of like wake up one day and be like, holy shit, this is bad. Like, this is not, you know, a good thing. And this is something that I need to look at more critically, I guess. And it was a really important step to sort of rethink everything and really question everything. And I think that's just something so important to remember for so many different aspects of life, whether it's food or exercise or, you know, relationships, whatever. Like, you have to just question everything.
Yeah, and you can get like these tunnel visions, right? Where you're in it, and it's like it's the only thing that matters in life, and that's it, and you know, and everything else kind of blurs away. So that's pretty powerful.
Something that is interesting, coming from you know, under eating and trying to, you know, keep the minimal weight, to like, was this maybe part of the reason why you found plant-based eating? Because, you know, it could be like some people, like many people find plant-based eating because they want to lose weight, and that can also be how people that are not especially overweight, but that can also draw some people to the plant-based movement. Was it like what happened for you?
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, I'd say like mostly it was just realizing that you could do that as an athlete. And I mean, my kind of initial exposure to it was guys like Brendan Brazier and Rich Roll, and these guys were basically eating whatever they wanted. I mean, they definitely had very specific kind of plant-based diets, but it made me realize that the more and more research I did was like the calorie density is so low, and so you don't have to worry about overeating in terms of calories, especially as an athlete, because you're just, you know, you're eating these foods that are so rich in nutrition but low in calories, and it's often even like hard to get enough calories. And that's something that Aaron and I talk about all the time. But that, you know, it was less. I started to kind of shift away from calories as the metric for food, and even macronutrients, and more towards like, what am I getting out of this food, and how can that actually increase my performance as an athlete?
And I have an interesting question for that transition, because I know some of the people out there watching are counting calories and are in this way of thinking. How is your way out? Because you said you have this obsessive way with everything you do, which can be great if you use it correctly, which you are now. But I know lots of people who do count calories, they also have the same thing. Like they want to keep track, they want to be on top of it. So how did you transition that focus and that energy and that drive from counting calories? How did you break that?
Yeah, I mean, I think definitely at first I was still counting calories because I wanted to make sure I was actually getting enough. And like, I was so new to it. I was like, I mean, I don't know, like I'm not getting enough protein and iron and all these things. And definitely like I was sort of a closet vegan at first for a while. Like I didn't tell anyone, and I was just wanted, you know, just really, it was kind of my own self thing. And, but I think the way I got away, like I haven't counted calories in like years. Like sometimes I'll do it just for fun to just see like where I'm at, or if it's like some TFF related experiment. But I think what got me away from it is realizing that there's so much more to this plant-based lifestyle than calories or the amount of iron you get per day. Like I kind of went down the rabbit hole in terms of the animal welfare and ethics involved, and the environmental degradation that is happening as a result of animal agriculture. And so those things are so much bigger than myself. And I was able to kind of pop my own bubble and look outside of like the selfish act of being a 19-year-old bike racer obsessed with like, oh my God, I had like 70 calories or like 70 grams of carbohydrates today. Like what, like, no, you know, and like, that's just stupid. Like who gives a shit? Like that's so minuscule in terms of what's actually going on. And I think it also allowed me to find an outlet besides just bike racing that I became super passionate about and that I remain passionate about, 3-4 years later, which is the research involved, the, environmental issues and animal ethics, like I was talking about. And that just sort of naturally kind of evolved and just, I became interested in other things, basically.
Yeah. Okay, that's really cool to hear.
Okay, yeah. What about you, Aaron? Like, how you said like your wife kind of like introduced you to the plant-based, but like how did you react to it? I mean, so many people react differently to some. So I know couples that one is vegan, the other is not. So how did that play?
Yeah, so I met my wife actually for the first time in Eugene. That's where we met. We both worked at REI actually at the time. And she was vegetarian. And I thought that was the dumbest thing I had ever heard of in my life. And at the time...
I'm just going to pee really quick.
Yeah, there he goes. So he's not peeing, guys. He's taking an epic dump, I guarantee it. We'll get to that. High fiber does things. Yeah, so basically... At the time when I sort of discovered that she was vegetarian, we'd started dating, and I was like, what are you making? Like, where's the chicken? Where's the beef? Like, I see some cheese there, but you're missing the protein, And she would try to explain to me like, there's protein in plants. Like, you really don't need to worry about it. And I'm like, look, I'm a competitive climber. Like, I'm not messing around. I travel to climb. Like, this is my life. Okay. So, I think it's cool that you're doing it, but I'm like totally not interested. And I was at the time, I think I was drinking like a gallon of skim milk a day, for the protein, and like just reading these really outdated books on like sports performance and what you need. And so it wasn't long before I just got a little more curious about it, and I felt like her answers were somewhat like. The answers that she had to her questions didn't put me on the defensive at all. She did it in a way that left me kind of curious about it. Like, oh, I hadn't thought about antioxidants, or I hadn't thought about that. And so I just started experimenting with it. And I ended up reading the China study, actually. It was one of the first books that I read. And I was like, oh, okay, so there may be like an empirical basis here for eating, mostly plants and really minimizing your meat intake. And if inflammation is a real problem, I want the least amount of inflammation to recover from my workouts. And so I started just sort of transitioning, and then I went like full vegan like 3 or 4 days later, I think, after reading that. And she stayed vegetarian actually for quite a while. So she ended up sort of rebounding like with me over to the totally plant-based side. And I loved it. I found it really easy to do. I didn't think it was difficult at all. I didn't think it was complicated or expensive or elitist. I was buying pretty much the same foods minus the dairy and the meat. And it worked for me from an athletic performance perspective. I was sort of expecting that I would have less energy, that it would take me a little bit longer to recover, that I would need to take a bunch of protein supplements to sort of make up for it. And I found that none of that was true, and that I actually felt quite a bit better than I had before. I was less bloated and fatigued, and I had more energy for my training sessions. And my recovery was like not amazingly better, but it was enough better that it really got me excited about the potential of really ramping up the plants even more and really focusing on the greens and the beans and things like that. And so that was sort of my transition and how my wife kind of influenced me in the beginning.
Now, I think what would be interesting for our viewers is to know, okay, at that moment, it seems like you went into something that going totally plant-based was not even your wife was doing it. So
right.
You were alone in that. Like what got you to learn? Was it only like your own research, or did you have people helping you, supporting you? Like, how did you create your own world? Because it's hard to do something by yourself.
Yeah, so I am the type of personality exactly like Jackson is, where if I come across enough evidence to believe that something is valid, I will go overnight 150% into that. And I will, like, I just exist in my own little bubble. But I understand that most people are not like that. So I didn't have any support. I didn't reach out to anybody. I didn't need to. I was just like, this is what I'm doing, and I'm changing everything tomorrow. And I never looked back. But certainly my wife, I think, helped in the later stages. My wife, I think, helped me transition more into the ethical components, which kept me even more and more motivated. But in the earliest parts, no, I'm just a bootstrap kind of guy. I mean, I just did it all on my own.
What was the you said, like, you know, you do your own research if you find enough evidence. So, like, can you tell us, like, you know, what was it, like, books?
Well, you said you
websites,
read
the China study.
The China study.
Yeah, I read the China study, which I thought was definitely really interesting, and that, of course, sort of leads you into, I started reading a lot of Jill Furman stuff. So Eat to Live, I think, may have been the next book that I read. I read John Robbins' book, The Food Revolution, which I thought was really well referenced, like surprisingly well referenced for a book that you would think it would just be sort of like a popular culture thing. And I just, you know, I heard about, you know, Colin Campbell and, you know, Joel Furman and kind of all of those pioneers, and read all of their books, and just continued to experiment and felt better and better and better. I wasn't on the computer, like at the university, like doing PubMed searches for anything. Like, I wasn't at that level, but I've definitely always been the kind of person where if someone makes a claim in their book and then they link a couple of references to that, I'm going to go in the back, look at the studies, and then I'm actually going to look those up and read through those carefully. Where I think a lot of people don't do that, unfortunately. More people need to be looking at references. But that's the kind of research I was doing in the early days. And then later, as I got more into medicine and then went to nursing school and learned a lot more about disease, chronic disease and acute disease, and how those things sort of relate to your lifestyle choices and what you're eating, then I got really hardcore about the science, and learned more about research methodology and things like that, which is kind of where we're at now. So that was sort of the, like, transitional period for me in terms of the evidence.
Yeah. What about, like, you said that right in the beginning, you were like, I don't even need protein supplements. Did you ever take them? Or did you kind of just transition straight to, like, whole food plant-based? Or did you?
I went straight to vegan pretty much, but was kind of junk food vegan at the beginning. To be honest, I was eating a lot of the fox meats and the
meat.
Fox. Did I just say fox? Great.
I was like, what is that?
Yeah, exactly.
Dude,
FOX.
that's not
FOX. Yeah. No, so I was eating a lot of that. I was taking a ton of supplements, which I had been doing before I switched over. I was obsessed with, like, herbs and some really hippy dippy stuff, as my mom would call it. And did take some protein stuff. I learned about Vega, and I still love Vega products. I just don't. They taste phenomenal. So yeah, I was using some protein powders, but I would go months without doing that. I kind of just experimented with stuff to see how I felt, and I never noticed any difference whatsoever taking protein supplements.
That's the question I wanted to ask, if you felt different.
No, not at all. As long as you're getting enough calories, you really are going to meet your needs for amino acids. So I never felt a difference in terms of recovery or training because I eat like a horse, right? So I've never had a problem with caloric intake. So switching from an omnivorous diet to a vegan diet, I sort of had this intuitive sense that, like, okay, I'm going to be eating a lot of, like, potatoes and vegetables and fruit. Like, I better eat like a thug, you know, because I think I just understood intuitively that stuff would have less calories, but it would have a ton of nutrition. And so as long as you're doing that, your transition will be flawless as far as I'm concerned. So no, I didn't have any issues there at all.
What I'm thinking is, I would like to know how, because okay, you were convinced because you saw, studies, evidence that that was the right thing to do. But when you know that, that doesn't tell you, okay, how does that apply on the everyday life? How am I going to cook? Like recipes, like just practical things on the everyday. So we always share, evidence on our Facebook, social media. We share evidence. Plant-based is the best, and then maybe people believe it, but then it's missing from like, yes, it's the best, but then how does it apply every day? So how can you like explain us like how you did?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure I totally understand the question.
I think
like,
just
how did you decide like what to eat and stuff?
Oh, so like from a practical perspective. Yeah. So like, okay, so you're saying, all right, you read all the evidence and that's really cool, but where the hell do you start, right?
Yeah.
Like, how do you actually do it? So I've also been really lucky that I'm the kind of person who does not require recipes. Like I will microwave food. I mean, I make really simple stuff. And so I just sort of took my old habits and just replaced the stuff I had already been eating with the faux meats and stuff like that at first. And I found that that was really, really easy and simple to do. And then as I transitioned further, I started replacing things with like tempeh or tofu or seitan. You kind of learn about those three, like tempeh, tofu, seitan, that kind of stuff. I did a lot of like, you're kind of just like in your kitchen, you're hungry and you look in your fridge and you're like, okay, I have some old kale and I've got like some carrots and I've got some tofu and I have a sauce and I have some rice too. And you're like, oh, well, why don't I just do like a stir fry or something? So I would just throw all the shit in the pan, get it really hot, throw some sauce in there, do a little stir fry, and then make some rice and just throw it on top of the rice and eat it. And I'd be happy.
And I think with that, like really important thing is that like learning how to cook, regardless if you're vegan or vegetarian or omnivorous, is the most critical skill, because once you understand the basics of how you cook things, whether it's steaming some kale or baking a sweet potato or like how to, make some rice, like once you have that awareness and that kind of structure, like framework, basically, it's so much easier. And like, I'm the exact same way as Aaron. And like, I think for that, like, it wasn't really an issue for me. And I know a lot of people are really into recipes, but I think if you want to do this as efficiently as possible, like you have to get the basics down to just be able to throw shit into the pan and like, like looking at your fridge or your cupboard, like, what do I have? How can I make this easy and delicious? And I understand some people like to make it complicated and make fancy recipes. We both do that every once in a while, but the key is to actually learn how to cook, because even if you just follow a recipe, you're not necessarily getting the skills to be able to do this practically, whether you're traveling or whether you're at home, just, on a Tuesday night.
Yeah. So sorry, go ahead.
I mean, I was going to say, I totally agree. And I really wish that it was taught at schools, like public school. I wish they didn't assume that our parents taught us this stuff, because they don't.
So grateful for my mom.
And another thing that's so important for everyone watching, if you're interested in any of this, is like, just freaking do it. Yeah. Like you guys said, like, seriously, do not go, like, just do it. Don't be scared. You're not going to screw up. Like, and that's the only way you learn.
I think it's the same thing for everything. And many people before, I would like to run, but I don't know, like, how do I start? What shoes, what watch, what shirt, what, and it's about doing it.
But
like,
you guys are like that. Like, you guys just do stuff overnight, which we're the same way. But we understand most people aren't. In the same way, like, if you're normally someone who follows a recipe, just do what Aaron said. Like, look in your fridge, put all that shit in the pan, and cook it. Just do it.
Yeah, just cook it up. Like, maybe it won't taste like amazing because you didn't spice it perfectly, and like your food combinations aren't perfect. But I swear, like, if you put enough liquid aminos on anything, like, it's gonna taste really good. Yeah. I think the biggest issue is that when people are considering transitioning to a plant-based diet, they think that it's going to be really complicated and that only like world famous like New York sous chefs are going to be are going to be the only ones who can like throw together the plants, you know, to make this amazing like thing that actually tastes that's actually edible. And that unless you're a chef, you won't be able to make plant-based food taste good. And that's just not true. So like Jackson was saying, get a rice cooker. It's easy. Throw rice and water in there, like, right? So there's your base. And then learn how to stir fry vegetables or learn how to steam vegetables. That's what I do now. And then learn about 1 or 2 sauces that you just like. So maybe that's like liquid aminos. Maybe it's like you really like the ginger,
sweet Thai chili sauce,
right? Okay, so just get a few of those things and just have some staples around your house. Learn how to make your bases and just stir fry or steam some stuff, put a sauce on it, and you're done. Like that's how you should start. And if that works for you, but you want to get more complicated and start using recipes, then get a really cool book. Like my wife loves to make food from recipes. So she uses a cookbook called Veganomicon, which is a really classic
Isa Chandra Moskowitz or something.
So and there's a ton of great recipes in there. So if that's your thing, like do it. My wife loves doing that. I absolutely hate it. I want food prepared in like 7 minutes, and then I'm gonna just slam it in my face, and then I'm gonna move on with my day. Like that's just the kind of person I am. So it really can be very simple, very practical, very, very, very easy and delicious to do, and you can meet all of your needs with the really simple foods. You don't have to get complicated at all.
And that's what I like too about your guys' vlog. You guys show a lot of like practical, like here's my burrito or here's this bowl and it has a can of beans in it. You know, it's like these are just, and that's how we are too. Like it's simple and you have all of those like macronutrients in there and there's so much micronutrients.
Yeah.
And it's so easy and it's so amazingly delicious. Okay, what about you, Jackson, though? Like how was your transition did you use like the fake meats and stuff? Because I really do think that the fake meats are such a good transition. You know, you guys don't believe in like, they're not the healthiest option, but they're a hell of a lot healthier than eating the meat and everything. So they're a great transition, but how did your transition go, Jackson?
Yeah, I mean, I sort of kind of came into like the kind of mainstream vegan world, like just because that's sort of where things just naturally kind of like came for me. Like I was like, okay, I'm gonna go vegan. Like I need to learn about veganism. So I like started watching a lot of YouTube channels like Durian Rider and like the classic people that I kind of like cringe a little bit at now. But like just more like what I eat in a day videos, like things like that, just to kind of like learn, and so like I did get a lot of benefit from watching those videos just to see what people were doing, especially like athletes, and so sort of I definitely switched from, what I was doing before, like overnight, where I was like, basically, I remember the day very vividly. I was actually at my house here in Boulder that I was renting.
I crawled in through your window.
Yeah, you crawled in through my window. He walked me through.
I walked you through it, and
you kind of fed me just a block of like raw tofu. You kind of spoon fed it to me.
You chewed it up,
and I was like, wow, this is the best diet I've ever tried. I was on a tofu only diet for like, what was it, like a year?
I think you did 4 blocks of tofu for a day.
I did Tofu Island.
Yeah, Tofu Island. Yeah. None of that's true. Sorry, we're very sarcastic.
You'll have to deal with the sarcasm.
Really gross.
Unleash it. Yeah, you can make tofu smoothies, frozen tofu tofu ice cream. You can do. Yeah, it's like unlimited. I mean, it's great. No, but like I just remember the day. Like I remember in my fridge I had like a carton of eggs, a big thing of like Greek yogurt, and some chicken breasts. So I was like still eating like dairy and eggs and like meat. And I just remember literally throwing those away. Like I know like that's wasteful, but like I was just like I'm done. Like I'm just done. And then I remember like really getting into eating a lot of fruit. And I think that's because of like a lot of the mainstream, vegan people are really into like high carb, like fruit-based diets. And, but I was also careful to not just like go raw, because I was still bike racing at the time. I basically did this mid-season and I was like, okay, I need to still like take care of my protein needs and my, other needs and like get enough iron. And so I was doing pretty high carb stuff. Like I was doing a lot of big, like 10 banana smoothies with like berries and like nuts and seeds and, you know, these fill up the Vitamix and like, and I sort of don't really believe in that anymore necessarily. Like I would have these amazing like highs. I'd be like, yeah, I feel like a freaking god. And like, I would just like go like ride my bike, and then I would just like crash and just be like, terrible. But yeah, I mean, I sort of gradually sort of shifted towards, I mean, I definitely tried a lot of the like fake meat stuff. I was like super excited about like, oh, there's all these new foods I can try. I've like, I don't think I'd ever really had, you know, tempeh in my life. And so I was like, I'm going to just buy tempeh and like try and make it. And I definitely followed a lot of recipes. But then as I got more experienced, I kind of came to where I am today, which is like Aaron, basically, where I just microwave a sweet potato, pour a can of beans, sometimes don't even cook it, on top of it with some like spinach and kale and broccoli and like sauce.
Squirt some sauce on top of it and just eat it. Like,
yeah.
Yeast and sriracha, right?
Yeah, exactly. And like, I don't necessarily think everyone should do that.
Yeah.
Because it's really boring and like it can sometimes wreck your stomach in a lot of ways. Like this morning, I had some pretty amazing bowel movements. I basically had that exact same dinner last night. But yeah, just simple foods, lots of fruit, lots of rice. I crushed a lot of rice, and again, I was sort of a closet vegan, and I was still racing on this team, and so I sort of, you know, I wasn't perfect. Like I remember that, like I think I like went fully vegan in like May or June of, I think it was 2014, 13 or something, and 4th of July, like we were at this like race and we finished the race and we were having this big barbecue and like all there was like burgers, and so I just like had a burger and I was like, oh my god, like I'm not vegan, you know. Like I freaked out, but I was like, no, I'll just eat, like it's not a big deal. But you know, it's like I was still traveling a lot with the team, still racing, and I was feeling good. I was sort of starting to get my mojo back as a bike racer, and I was just really focusing on getting enough calories at that point.
So how did that new diet play into your performance?
I would say there wasn't necessarily a gigantic, like, it wasn't super noticeable. I think it's really hard to say because I was coming from this place of like really low calorie intake, and I was like already had, I mean, this is something interesting for viewers or people like in general. Even though I was eating a ton of meat and like on a paleo diet, I still had low iron and low ferritin, and you know, sort of like borderline anemic. And so going from that to like plant-based, I think regardless, like just eating enough calories in general, whether it's from, you know, meat and eggs and stuff, or from beans and potatoes, you're going to feel better. And so it's hard for me to extrapolate and kind of like extract out what exactly was making me feel better. But I mean, it took a long time. I mean, I'm not going to lie and say that like overnight I like got a 6-pack and was like amazing, you know, like, no, I sort of gradually started to sleep better. I mean, I think the biggest thing for me was less a performance gain and more like I used to have chronic sinus infections and just congestion in general. And pretty much overnight, I'd say that stuff cleared up and I was like sleeping better. I used to just like be a like total mouth breather and super congested and would get like strep throat and sinus infections multiple times a year. And that stuff like disappeared basically overnight. And I started sleeping better and I think the biggest thing for me is like less about like physical health, because I've always been pretty fit and pretty like healthy overall, just because I'm, you know, an athlete and, you know, my mom and family ate really well growing up. I think overall, like the biggest benefit and change for me was just my world awareness and, you know, my just overall, you know, mood and happiness, because I was like, finally, it clicked for me in terms of
This is
nutrition.
into our next question. But I was gonna say it's really cool that you noticed the improved sleep, because that's something that like I noticed so much. I used to lay in bed for hours every night, like, and couldn't sleep. It would take me like 3 hours to fall asleep. And when I went plant-based, that was something I noticed like immediately. I could sleep like normally. So that was kind of a strange amazing benefit that I found. So actually, what you were just saying though is like.
We have a question.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Susanna asked for a question for you, Jackson. How did your teammates and coaches react when they found out about your diet?
They definitely gave me a lot of shit. Like, they would give me shit about everything, because I was just the young kid on the team. And so I think most of them sort of didn't really understand it. And they were kind of like, oh, great. Like, Jackson, you're just kind of like restricting your food again, like it's just another manifestation of that. But I think by the time they sort of realized, and sort of like by the time I like told them what was going on, I had enough research under my belt and enough understanding and awareness of why I was doing it and what the research was looking like, that it was really easy for me to just explain to them why. And eventually they were just sort of like, cool, great, like awesome,
So I guess the reason why you kind of like kept it secret at the beginning, was it because you didn't want to have to face the critics?
Definitely that, but also like I still didn't know if it was right. Like I didn't know for sure like if it was good. Like great, Rich Roll is like awesome, cool, but like is that going to translate into me being healthy and still being able to race at the high level that I was racing? And because it's hard, like when like the plant-based thing still hasn't really shifted into the elite cycling world yet. And I'm not exactly sure why that is. And I'm sort of trying to change that in a lot of ways. But when everyone else around you, and even when it's your family and your teammates and your competition, that no one really else is doing it, like you start to question it, even if you believe super strongly in it. And so for me, it was like, okay, I want to give this a trial run. And if like, I suddenly am like racing in a race and I just like collapse from a protein deficiency, like, okay, that like, obviously this isn't going to work for me. So I wanted to really make sure I kind of had all my, ducks in a row with it and gave it a little bit of time, instead of just like, guys, yesterday I was eating meat and eggs and like today I'm vegan. Like, that's just not how I roll. Like I wanted to really think critically about it and take the steps necessary to really ensure that I was doing it correctly. And yeah, I mean, definitely I didn't want, like, I was the young guy on the team and I just kind of I was like DNFing every race basically that season. And so I didn't want to be sort of ridiculed even more. And I was definitely very insecure with just my place in the team and the pressure. And so I guess, yeah, like I think there was a lot of factors in that. And it wasn't like, I wasn't like vegan for a year without telling anyone. It's just like, they would make egg fried rice and I would just be like, okay. And I would just eat that and like eat just like not eat the eggs, and like, so it was just, but yeah, that's basically it.
I think it's really a cool step though, because even though we have the type of personalities where we can do these things overnight, the way that you went about it was kind of a strategy that I recommend, and it's don't commit to it really. Like committing scares the shit out of so many people.
I mean, I was really committed, but like
I know. See, you were, but a lot of people, like for the general population, it's the message that you guys tell, like go eat some plants. You're not saying go vegan, right? Yeah. You're saying go eat some plants, try it out. Don't commit to anything crazy. See how you feel. You're gonna feel, if you don't feel better, don't do it. If you feel better, keep going. And I think it's something like when people, hey guys, everyone in my family, my friends, like put it on Facebook, I'm going vegan today. Like that sets you up. That's so much pressure. Yeah. So I think it's so cool just to like leave that out and just like secretly try it or do whatever works for you. But like, don't worry about like saying that you're vegan or committing to anything. Just give it a shot.
Totally.
Yeah. And so much of that goes into like labels and putting yourself in a box. And Jackson and I are very anti-label and anti-box. Just, it doesn't matter where you're at. Like everybody can just start eating more plants.
Yeah.
Okay, so
no one can argue with that.
Nobody can argue with that. Like Americans need to eat more plants, period. So if you can just start filling up your plate with whole plant foods, really simple stuff, and that works for you, you're getting enough calories and you feel good, like everything else will just come to you naturally. You don't have to say, like you said, you know, as soon as you put that label on yourself, now suddenly you are beholden to the rules and the social norms of this cult, basically, that you're joining. And the same can be true for paleo. The same is true for low carb, South Beach diet, ketosis. Like, it doesn't matter. As soon as you become one of the tribe members, suddenly you have to start behaving and doing everything with that sort of tribe mentality. And I think that leads people astray. So just start eating more plants and have fun with it. Like,
don't take yourself too seriously.
Yeah, just don't take yourself too seriously. Have fun.
Yeah, I love that. Oh, hold on. We will get to these questions. We have a few really good questions, but I want to actually get into the next segment, which is your guys' purpose. And clearly, like, it shines through so strongly that you guys are so purpose-driven, and everything you do with your channel and your lifestyle is like full of passion and purpose. But when do you guys think you found that individually? It sounds like, to me, I'm going to know the answer. Like, you guys it seems like you're pretty purpose-driven from the beginning. But was finding, like, was finding the plant-based lifestyle, like, a new purpose in life? And how has that changed your life going forward? And has it helped in all ways of life?
I'd say it really started when Aaron and I met on farmersonly.com, the farmer dating site. Yeah. We always like to tell that story.
If you're not familiar with that, check out farmersonly.com. I swiped left and saw a picture of Jackson with a pitchfork, and I was just like, woo, whoa, gotta meet up with that boy.
That was sort of like the universe telling me that, you know, sort of my chakras were aligned, and I really I just really knew that was sort of my purpose. Was just like, it just opened up to me, like, you know.
I'm gonna check that
out. That was all sarcastic, by the way.
Yeah,
just a disclaimer for those of you that don't know. No, but like, I think for me, like, it really, the plant-based, like discovering the plant-based lifestyle really kind of started that path for me. But I didn't really know, like, that was something that I really wanted to do. Like, I was still in college at the time. I was studying physiology. You know, part of me wanted to go to med school. Part of me was like, oh, I want to become an exercise physiologist. And I was sort of leaning towards that path. But then I realized, like, wow, this plant-based nutrition thing is like so profound if all of this evidence is true. And it can be applied to medicine. It can be applied to exercise physiology, and you know, taking these classes like endocrinology and exercise physiology and human physiology and epidemiology, like these classes that are just so important. Like none of this stuff was being talked about, and I could like see really clearly how the plant-based and just nutrition in general really fit into that picture. And so I think it really started when Aaron and I met. Like, yeah, that's kind of cheesy and corny. Like, we met and it was like, you know, it just sort of like created this thing. But like, I think we do have a pretty epic bromance in terms of like how when we connect and like when we put our minds to something, like we create something cool. And you know, it didn't necessarily start with Thought for Food. We had some other ideas, and you know, just sitting down in this very living room before TFF was even a figment of our imagination, just talking these things through and like having really cool critical discussions that were open-minded and not just like, oh, veganism is the way, but like, oh, like, what does it mean to be healthy? What does it mean to be an athlete and training and having balance and all these things? And it sort of made me realize, I think for me at least, that you can have an amazing place in this world being really like a steward for this lifestyle that is rooted in the evidence and the exercise and making it fun and not really taking it so seriously that, you know, you're just like photographing every single meal you eat or making it all about the food. It's like, this is a lifestyle. And I think once both of us realize that we can really focus on the lifestyle aspect, of which food, of course, is an important piece, and it's sort of driven and grounded by the food and the nutrition, that we could have a unique voice in that.
Yeah. I would say things crystallized for me in terms of knowing that I wanted to do something with plant-based stuff when I was in nursing school. So, you know, the process of nursing school basically is a lot like the process of medical school. It's just more condensed. And, you know, so I found myself suddenly elbow deep in like horrifying chronic disease. And like, not, you know, people like out in the private land, I mean, out in the mainstream, basically, like people think that diabetes is kind of funny, like, oh, you know, that being overweight is kind of silly, like, hey, too many pounds, Joe, you know, and like heart disease is like, they know it's serious, but they haven't really seen what it looks like when somebody dies of a heart attack, like how horrific that is. So I found myself in this place where I'm having these like out of body experiences basically with patients who are dying, and I'm watching people suffer from, you know, high blood pressure and heart disease and cancer and rheumatoid arthritis and like these debilitating chronic diseases that are killing people. And I was like, man, like somebody's got to put a stop to this, you know, and plant-based nutrition is such a powerful tool to both prevent and treat chronic disease. And so I was like, okay, definitely plant-based nutrition has got to be something that I do professionally. Like, and I don't know what that's going to look like, but I got to do something. And so out of nursing school, I came to Boulder and started working as a nurse on a cardiovascular floor. So again, more chronic disease. And I started a private coaching and consulting business called the Plant-Based RN. And I did that for like a year and a half. And then I met Jackson and I was like, we started talking about a podcast and kind of doing stuff like that. And then it really gelled for me. And I'm like, okay, this is a perfect opportunity for me to use my medical expertise translated into like a funny, kind of sarcastic, like crazy thing that I can do with this other guy who's super smart and funny and sarcastic, just like me. And we do so many of the same things together. And I was like, okay, no more plant-based RN. Like I'm putting all my resources into TFF, and here we are now. So that's kind of a similar story, but yeah, I think things really gelled with TFF for me. Like this is the perfect application of our knowledge.
Yeah, and I think like what that kind of that through line for both of us is like academia. Like we both kind of realize that this nutrition, plant-based especially, is lacking in sort of the mainstream kind of like academic setting that we came from. You know, I went to a major university. There's 30,000 undergrads here at CU, and like I took the main pre-med major, integrative physiology, and I got basically a minor in public health. And we never talked about that shit. Like it blew my mind. And I was like, the whole time as I was going through these classes, I was like, there's got to be some like conspiracy here. Like why, like if there's all this research that I'm learning about, why aren't we talking about it? And I just was like, Aaron and I were constantly venting our frustrations to each other. Like I was still in college and he was seeing the same thing in the hospital where like doctors are prescribing Atkins, and like, you know, I'm seeing this stuff and I'm talking to my professors about it, and they're like, yeah, it's not really that big of a deal. It's mostly genetics and all this stuff. And like, I think we sort of realized we have a lot of experience and knowledge in this field. Let's combine that with our obsession with performance and with plant-based nutrition to, you know, help people really.
Which is so cool, because that's one of the things that I love about your guys' channel the most. I love many things, but one of the things that I love the most is that you guys are so good at speaking about science. Like I studied a lot of, like, not as in depth at all as you guys did, but we know, you know, quite a bit about the science behind it, but we just suck at talking about it. And we really quickly realized, like, oh my God, we should shut up. Like let's just.
Oh, we need people like yeah.
I think just keep trying and you'll find your voice. Like,
well, yeah, but also like recognizing our strengths and weaknesses.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
totally your guys' strength, and I love it. And it's one of the coolest things about your channel is that you guys are really good at that, and your passion for it totally comes through. We can actually answer one of the questions, which was about being a nurse.
Yeah. So for Aaron, did you promote a plant-based diet to your patient as a nurse?
Yes, every day.
Well, I wanted to like add on to that question. Like, are you allowed to? And then also with your private, like on the side, plant-based coaching, how is that going? Like along, like what was the dichotomy there? Were you seeing like results there? Was it frustrating opposed to being a nurse too?
You know, like really early in my nursing career, yeah, I was really frustrated with the sort of lack of not just peer review, but sort of the unwillingness of physicians and nurses and registered dietitians to stay up to date on nutrition science literature, so that everyone was still stuck in 1974. Like with the advice that they're giving to people. And that really frustrated me. And then obviously like just the way that we deal with chronic disease. Like, what we do very well in Western medicine is treat acute problems. So if you get in a car accident and you come to the emergency room, fucking awesome. Like steel and drugs and blood. Like we do that so well. Intensive care units, we do that so well. What we do an abysmal job of is managing chronic disease, because we don't address the lifestyle component. So we prescribe medications that treat symptoms. They don't address the problem. So that frustrated me a ton at first. Now I'm much less frustrated because I find that I can have these like one-on-one interactions with my patients where it's just me and the patient, and I can have them watch a nutritionfacts.org video, or have them order How Not to Die, you know, on Amazon, and start reading through that. And we can have discussions that take place sometimes just over the course of a 12-hour shift, but sometimes over the course of several days if I keep coming back and taking care of the same person. That has filled me with more hope, and that's why I started the Plant-Based RN, because I was like, okay, these people are desperate for help. Nobody in the hospital can provide that for them. So I will give them my card. And when they discharge from the hospital, they can call me and we can work together one-on-one. And that was really cool. And definitely people found that useful and definitely got results. I stopped doing that, obviously, because I don't have time to work and do that and do Thought for Food. But yeah, so yes, I do promote a plant-based diet to my patients, but I don't tell them that they have to be vegan or vegetarian to get healthier. I'm just like, can you just start with plants? Like Jackson and I say, like, just start with eating more plants. Go with that. Here are some books you should read that are very good. If you have any other questions, contact Jackson or myself when you get out of the hospital. We would be happy to work with you one-on-one to help you continue your transition. And then, of course, you have to tailor your advice depending on the severity or acuity of somebody's disease. So if somebody comes in with chest pain and then their 12 lead is all screwed up and their troponins are elevated, and we take them to the cath lab and we do an angiogram and they have multivessel disease, so severe coronary artery disease, sometimes you need to really like go in and have a bypass surgery the next day. Like, but sometimes, you know, if you have the right support, you can try a plant-based diet and some cholesterol lowering medications, kind of like Esselstyn did in his trial. But you just have to tailor the advice depending on what's going on with that person. So if it's really severe and extreme, get the Western medical treatments and then let's work on the diet. If it's not so bad, you were just diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, you have some insulin resistance, you're a little bit overweight, you've got some heart disease, but it's not significant right now. Like, yeah, let's go in, like headstrong, like let's do this right now. So it just depends on the patient, honestly. But yeah, I do promote it.
Cool. Yeah, thanks for answering that. Should we get to a few more questions quickly? Because you guys are actually like, we're right on track with all the questions we wanted to ask you. We're going in there nicely. So what, should we get a few more out of the way?
Sure, we can get, there's a question from Mary. Is superfood a marketing slogan or legit?
Yes.
Yeah.
I would say, okay, it depends on how you tease that out. Some foods have more micronutrient density than other foods. So like goji berries are going to be higher in X nutrient than like a potato is. But it doesn't, superfoods are also marketed in such a way that make them very expensive, and they come in very small servings, and that is not really practical for most people. So if you got a ton of money, like we always talk about, like if we won Like if Whole Foods like called us and John Mackey at Whole Foods said, you know what, guys, you get free food from our store for life.
He's commenting.
Yeah, if it's for life, then I would be downing goji berries and freaking maca and like all of these random things. But for most people, it's too expensive. It's not practical, and it's not necessary. Like, we know you can literally reverse heart disease without superfoods just by eating regular plants.
Well, and
so you
like,
don't need it.
And just like regular plants are like the OG superfoods.
Yeah.
You know, like we don't like that stuff is just rocket fuel for the body when it comes, you know, beans, greens, like even sweet potatoes, even simple shit like turmeric, which is dirt cheap. And don't get us wrong. Like, Aaron and I love our like superfoods, you know, we're really into like mushrooms right now. And like, I definitely like throw some, you know, different greens powders into my smoothies sometimes that have like, you know, like reishi mushrooms and, you know, like astragalus and like all these crazy things. Like, but again, they're like supplements to your diet. Like, they're not the staple. That's not the foundation. But yeah, I think a lot of it is marketing because and we don't know exactly like how high quality those things are. Like, are they just filled with a bunch of filler products to like make it look like this is some, you know, moringa powder, you know, but it's like really just, you know,
just chalk. It's just magnesium carbonate. Yeah. And I mean,
and there's not a lot of good data for those things anyway.
There's very little science done on these foods, so you can't really be sure. They are technically sold as food supplements, which means there's no regulatory body keeping track of the purity or the potency of what you're getting, and they're also just, you know, it's like one day kale is a superfood, and then like next week it's goji berries, and then it's moringa leaf, and then it's like some sap that you find from a tiny little bush in the Amazon, you know, and like everyone wants the sap, you know, and so then they like destroy the rainforest to sell Westerners this sap. I just think the whole market is sort of a problem environmentally, and it's too expensive. And just eat fruits, vegetables, whole grains, beans, nuts, and seeds. Like, those are the healthiest foods on earth.
I agree. And maybe like one thing I could say there too that research is really tough with is if you want like a real superfood too, and you don't want to destroy the environment, eat more locally. Because locally, like organic, even, I don't know, like my friend just inspired us to start eating the weeds from our garden. Because we found out that the weeds, there's so many edible weeds. And they're grown without pesticides right here in our yard. And they probably have way more micronutrients than those goji berries, and it's free. So there's like so many different ways to get super. So
like the annoying dandelions that pop up in your yard, harvest that shit and eat it. The dandelion greens are super, super potent. And actually the dandelion flower itself is a diuretic. So people have been using that for a long, long time as kind of a mild diuretic. So yeah, like plants are amazing. Make sure you're not eating things that are poisonous. But yeah, it's a good point. Like, you could just harvest weeds from your yard and put them in your smoothie.
Yeah, which is what we are doing. We're on that right now.
That's awesome.
Do we have any more?
Well, yeah. So, you know, what we have been talking about health, and that seems to be the common point for both of you that brought you to the plant-based lifestyle. But then, like, when did you start to discover more about a vegan lifestyle, or the benefit that it has for all the things?
Yeah, I think for us, like, you know, we definitely came into it with the health, and you know, one thing we say, and I think you guys mentioned it, is like, you know, there is some room for, you know, maybe 10% of your calories coming from animal products. But the reason that we are both still vegan is because of what's going on in terms of the mass just suffering, like unnecessary suffering, and just horrible conditions that are happening to animals, whether it's a pig, a chicken, a fish, or the kind of side effects that are affecting wildlife, from wolves to you know, other wild animals as a result of animal agriculture. And we just don't want to support that. And so after understanding the health implications of eating this way and realizing that, hey, we can still be completely badass athletes and thrive and be super healthy. Like, it's completely unnecessary to eat animals. And so why not, let's just not contribute to that industry. You know, no one really can argue that factory farming is a good thing. And, you know, probably 96 or 97% of the meat and animal products that we eat collectively as a society come from factory farms. So we need to like really make an effort to shift that system. And yeah, it's not something that we talk about like all that much, but it is a huge piece of why us personally are remaining vegan, and definitely the environment plays into that. It's all connected, you know. And I think we just try not to be dogmatic, and we try to be inclusive for people. And because I think that no matter what, like, it's ingrained in our culture, and no one wants to hurt animals. No one wants to like willingly kill animals. It's business, and it's the way things are, and that's wrong, I think, in our opinion. And so it's like, once we can help people make that switch and make that connection, like that's where the magic happens. And I guess for me, like, that really started when I watched Earthlings. Like, when I first went vegan, I like saw Forks Over Knives. I was like, cool, this makes sense from a health perspective. Like, I guess I'll sort of start to learn more about what it means in terms of, you know, animal suffering and animal welfare. And I watched Earthlings, and it just like shattered my world. And I was like, holy shit, this is so wrong. Like, everything I know is wrong. Like, why am I just learning about this now? And like, I've never looked back, and like, I never will, you know, eat animals again unless it comes from, you know, clean meat, lab like cultured meat products, which is something that we can talk about, that we're really excited about. But yeah, it's just, it's such a messed up system that doesn't need to happen, basically.
Yeah. And I see the way that I approach the ethical thing. I see our treatment of animals today as a social justice movement, basically. So I think veganism is a social justice movement. And I think history would tell us that it's better to be on the right side of history. And that just like any other kind of social justice movement, basically, in our history, when you're in it, sometimes it's hard to understand what's right and what's wrong, but 20 or 30 years down the road, everybody understands how fucked up that was, right? So I think the same thing will be true of how we treat animals today in our modern, basically in any capacity, but mostly in the way that we eat them for food. And I want to be on the right side of history. I don't want to pay into that system. I just can't do it.
Cool. Yeah, we totally agree. And I love that way of looking at it, because we feel the same way. Like, for sure, I don't know how many years it's going to take, but we will get there. And everyone will look back and be like, oh my God, I cannot believe what we did. But yeah, it's going to take some time, but that's okay. Cool. Yeah. So let's see, like, we have some really cool things that we wanted to talk about, like with TFF. You already kind of talked about the birthing process there, but can you guys walk us through, like, so you guys were sitting in your living room, like, how did it go from idea to reality? How long did it take? Was there like major inspiration and that process? Because that's really cool. Like, we're starting our nonprofit, and even just Plant Positive, like, we're pretty new to it. It's just really intriguing to us, and I think it is for a lot of people, because here it is, it's a passion. You guys are like, wow, this is such a cool idea. Well, how do you make that happen?
Yeah, I'd say the number one thing, and it's the most important lesson that we've both learned from this whole process from day one to now, is like, just start. And we sort of talked about, I think we mentioned that earlier, but like, we literally were at the coffee shop up the street, and we like sat down and we're like, hey, like, we both like podcasts, like, let's just start one, see how it goes. And like, I just, like, that same day, I think I just like stayed up all night, like, researching how to start a podcast. And like, we just did it and recorded it. And like, within a few weeks, like, we had a podcast like live on iTunes, and we're like, whoa.
I couldn't believe it. That first, like, one of the first meetings we had at this little cafe up the street from my house, we were like, dude, what if we actually had a podcast like on iTunes
Yeah,
people could, that like someone could actually like listen to what we said on the podcast.
Like,
we
how do
thought
you
that was
do
so
that?
crazy.
How do you do that?
Yeah. How do you do it? And like, how crazy would that be? Like, maybe one day we could get Sage Candidate on the show. You know, we're like dreaming, and like Sage has been on the show like 19 times now, just twice actually.
Yeah.
But so like, the point is you just have to start.
Doesn't
And-
matter where, like
and
you
it-
just take a step.
And it doesn't matter how overwhelming it seems, because it can seem very, very overwhelming from a business perspective, especially like dealing with your LLC and your taxes and video editing. You got to learn Final Cut Pro, and then
Web
you got to like
hosting
web
and, like,
hosting and
yeah.
like merchandise.
Yeah.
And like, how do you deal with the merchandise?
Sales
and then
tax
sales
tables.
taxes, tax tables.
But
Like,
the passion is there.
Oh yeah, that's what fuels us.
yeah. And the reality is that every successful entrepreneur started in that same box. Like, you have no idea what you're doing. You feel like a total idiot, but somewhere along the line, they just took that first step. Like, I can like Google, I can just Google a podcasting,
Yeah.
you know, like just
Yeah.
start with that. Like,
Yeah.
and eventually like a year goes by and you're like, holy shit, dude, like,
have,
we're
like,
doing
50
this.
episodes. Yeah, like,
Yeah, we're actually freaking doing this. Let's do a YouTube channel too, you
Yeah.
know? And then a year later, like, you've got a YouTube channel and you're selling shirts and you're doing funny stuff. And so,
because I think a lot of
be
people
scared, just
'cause
start.
I think a lot of people look at people like, whether it's a podcast or a YouTube channel or a movie star like LeBron James, they see them where they are now and they're like, whoa, that guy's a phenom. Like,
Yeah.
he must be world-class genetics. And like, yeah, sure, they have that, but like, they also don't see that like middle part of just years and years of like nonstop grinding and just passion and like just not getting into that fear of failure and just going for it and realizing that all of these things happen as a result of a culmination of steps that are minute. Sometimes they're big. Sometimes you take steps back, and like,
Oh, yeah.
but it all pushes you forward. And the key there is that you're doing something that you enjoy and that you love. And like, for me, like, I would not be able to do this if I wasn't at least interested in it, because it takes me like so much time to learn how to edit videos and edit podcasts and, you know, set up the like special WordPress plugin to like host the file on SoundCloud that feeds it through the website that drops it into iTunes. And then like, it's insane. Like, I have no experience in that stuff. I'm a like science nerd like that, but that doesn't matter. Like, everyone has this capacity to do it. And I think when you make that first step, you just start to snowball, and it makes it so awesome to like look back and like, we're still pretty small, and like
and we don't know. And the biggest thing with us is like, we're just honest about like where we're at. And we have no idea if this is going to go anywhere or do anything. And we don't really care.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty. Like, don't attach yourself to this rigid idea of like what success has to look like and what it's got to mean in the future.
and all these
and like,
expectations.
you
and,
got to
like,
be making all this money, and then we got to do our marketing sales funnel and like all that stuff. Just enjoy yourself the entire time.
don't take yourself too seriously.
And when you stop enjoying what you're doing, just call it quits, because it's never going to be sustainable.
You have this underlying passion, and
Yeah.
then it's like actually taking a step back to square one, because that's what you need to feel success or whatever that means to you, and to have fun is like passion for something. Like, we always say, like, we don't care what it is, but just be passionate about something, please.
Yeah.
And once you figure that out for you, like, things start to happen so quickly.
Well, you never know where that's going to lead. And like, even if TFF just dissolved and died tomorrow, we wake up and like, we're just like, nope. And or like somehow it just like disintegrated from the earth. Like, I would still be like, wow, that was incredible. Like, I mean, just
learned so much,
made some amazing connections and relationships with people, had an amazing time, did something worthwhile, helped people, connected with people, and just like, you know, had just you know, an amazing experience. And like, that is success, you know, success is a mindset. It's not a destination.
Yeah. And another big thing for us is authenticity. Like what you see in the YouTube videos and what you hear on the podcast is 100% Jackson and I.
Sometimes we're a little bit more crude, but
yeah. So sometimes there has to be a little censorship because like my fucking potty mouth is so bad sometimes that it's just like, dude, you don't have to cuss every third word, you know what I mean? But authenticity is something that I think is so important. And the biggest thing that Jackson and I remind ourselves of every day, because we talk basically from the moment we both wake up to the moment we both go to bed. Like there's just constant communication.
I had to delete like 4 gigs of text messages from this guy on my phone the other day.
It's a problem. It's a problem. But the thing that we always remind ourselves is to be 100% authentic and have integrity in what we're doing. So we've had so many people try to push us into clickbait, like just, oh man, you got to take this crazy picture for the thumbnail. And like, you got to like what I eat in a day video. And for some people that works really well, but that's not what we're interested in doing. Yeah. And we're not going to degrade the quality of our show just to get maximum likes and clicks and money. Like we're just going to remain authentic and keep the integrity. And if it turns out to be a success because of that, that's awesome. And if it doesn't turn out to be a success, at least we still have like respect for each other and we have integrity. And that's the most important thing, I think.
That's great advice.
Yeah. It's the way to sustain it, to be able to sustain it. You know, you cannot play, you know, something, a game, a different life, a different phase. The only way to sustain is to, you know, yourself.
Well, that's the thing too. It's like, we're totally okay with this going super slow. Like, as long as we're just moving forward and growing, like, I'd rather do this and arrive 4 years later at like whatever certain kind of like, you know, success metric we decide that is, then like go like boom and then just like fall, you know, like a couple of years, like, because
the faster a business grows, the faster it dies. And it's just basic economics.
And at the same time, it allows us to fail and like to figure out and tweak things and like understand what it is we want to do. And like, even just looking back a year ago, like we've changed so significantly, just our philosophy and our sort of approach and, you know, what we're really into. And like, we go through these ebbs and flows, and like, sometimes I'm really into making YouTube videos, and sometimes, you know, I'm more into doing the podcast. And like, you have to be able to listen to that and kind of like, you just have this moral compass and this guiding sort of principle that, and that's just so much easier to do when you're taking it slow, really cultivating and marinating that process, rather than just like jumping straight into like, I'm going to do this webinar and like build my email list and just do all this clickbait stuff so that I can just grow like my audience. Like, but is that audience the people that you want to attract?
Right.
And like, we may not have the biggest following, but like, damn right, like TFF fans and like supporters are like some of the coolest human beings we've ever been able to interact with.
Yeah. And
we're just like so grateful for everyone that we get to talk to on a regular basis, because they're doing amazing things and they're like exactly the kind of people that we are trying to attract. And it's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it allows you to build a strong connection and a real connection, because you are true to yourself, so people can connect. And even though people, I'm sure, never met you, they feel like they met you, they feel like they are your friend, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Which is really neat.
And we're just normal. We're just normal dudes. Like, we're not trying to be gurus or like stand up on this high horse and this pedestal. Like, we're normal guys that poop and like, you know, have have problems, and you know, we get frustrated, and you know, like, I'm goofy walking around in my like Chacos with socks and my sweatpants and in through the grocery store, like buying my mangoes. Like we want to like
made a makeup tutorial video on YouTube.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
What the hell? I don't know if you guys have seen our makeup tutorial video.
No.
Just go back several episodes in the YouTube thing and watch our makeup tutorial. That's some creepy shit, but we were feeling it. We were feeling it. It has nothing to do with nutrition. It's really just kind of creepy, but it's funny. It's good.
And so like
Okay,
we're just weird guys, like, you know, and like, so we just like, when we hang out with people that we've met as a result of this, it's like, this is who we are. And we just love that experience of being relatable and just being on the same page. We're not trying to be Hollywood superstars, you know, like we want to like do this so that we can A, help people, but B, also attract people that we like legitimately would want to hang out with, and that they would legitimately want to hang out with us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think what I gather from you guys, I don't know if you know of like what Tony Robbins talks about. It's like true happiness doesn't come from money or whatever these successful measures you put on, but it comes from this sense of growing every day.
Yep.
And that's the underlying thing that people are missing. Like if you learn and grow as a person, you are going to be so much happier than money could ever buy. And you guys found that.
I'm literally living out of my car right now. And I was just driving down the street today, and I was like starting to just like laugh like out loud to myself, just driving in my car. Cause I was like, holy shit, my life is so amazing as a result of doing these things that I'm doing. And like, I'm making like nothing, no money, basically.
Yeah.
Like, nothing from TFF, certainly, but I'm
literally
like,
zero.
Like,
I mean,
I know. We laugh too because we're like, we fucking love our life, but we don't have a job and we don't make any money.
And like, there's so much uncertainty. Like, I don't know where I'm going to live like a month from now, you know? And like, and that's cool. But like, I think a lot of people could just assume or just jump and like, be like, this is so bad. Like, my life is horrible. But like, just being able to interview the people that we do on the podcast, or meet the people that we do as a result of doing the podcast, or, you know, just be able to like follow a path that like right now is the path. And like, and just, you know, you have these moments of just like bliss where it's like, things are so clear and so awesome. And you just have to like revel in that.
Yeah. Yeah. And take time to appreciate them. Right. Just like, wow, this is cool.
Yeah.
Do we have a few more questions that we can answer?
Yeah, there is an interesting question from Richard. What's your thought on claiming veganism and announcing it to the world to show what can be done on a plant-based diet versus the approach of just going out and accomplishing epic feats, Scott Jurek style, climbing mountain and tell no one?
Oh, Scott Jurek style, but nobody knows you're vegan?
Everyone
so basically, like, you know, telling everyone, you know, I'm vegan, this is what I can do on a plant-based diet, versus just doing it and not say, I would say maybe more like Michael Wardian that won the World Marathon Challenge.
Yeah.
He's vegan and he never says anything about vegan. And I think like, so what approach do you think is better? Like, is it just telling the world vegan is better, or is it just doing it without saying it?
I think there's a place for both.
There's a place for both.
Like, for example, I'm doing this big Mercy for Animals fundraiser. I'm going to Europe to ride my bike in like the Alps and do all this epic riding. And like, I'm totally, you know, talking about it from a vegan perspective and saying like, look, I'm trying to raise awareness for not only factory farming and the issues with animal agriculture and talking about Mercy for Animals, but I'm also saying like from the get-go, like, look, me and my friend Ian and Griff are vegans and we're, you know, cyclists and we're passionate about this lifestyle. And this is what we're going to do. And like, we're going to show how to do it, why, and make it cool, you know? But I think that there's also a big benefit to just doing your own thing and leading by example.
Yeah, that could be a great transition to you explaining us what's your project coming up.
Yeah, so basically starting around July 1st, me and two vegan cyclist friends, really high level cyclists who race bikes or have raced bikes at a high level, are going to basically ride up some of the most epic and historic climbs in the European Alps, in France, in the French Alps, and in Italy, in the Italian Alps. And we're starting off in France. We're going to go watch stage 9 of the Tour de France and ride the stage ahead of the race. Basically, it's like 111 miles with over 16,000 feet of elevation gain, going over like 4 giant mountain passes. and then doing some of the classics like Alpe d'Huez and some of those kind of big rides, and then we're going over to Bormio, Italy, which is like kind of the gateway to the Italian Alps, Stelvio, Gavia, Mortirolo, these incredible mountains that basically are really steep and really hard and long, and that like the Giro d'Italia and the Tour de France, all these big races have raced on for like 100 years, over 100 years. But the whole reason behind that is to not only raise awareness for power of a plant-based vegan diet, for accomplishing these things and how to do that as an athlete in places like Italy and France that maybe aren't necessarily super vegan friendly, but also use that as an opportunity to talk about factory farming and the issues with animal welfare that are going on, and as a result raise money for Mercy for Animals. And so we're working with Mercy for Animals through their donate program, with a goal of raising $10,000 to help farmed animals across the world, and kind of help to bring more awareness to that, especially to the cycling community. Like I was talking about how I want to bring this awareness of doing things for a bigger reason than just yourself and just performance, and understanding that you can thrive as a plant-based cyclist and also align your actions with your morals and values. And so we're also working with Vegan Athletic Apparel, which is a really cool vegan cycling brand, a clothing brand, like cycling, performance clothing based out of Australia. We've had Daniel Bovalino, who's the founder of Vegan Athletic, on the podcast. And so we're going to be kind of representing them as well. And just super excited. It's going to be amazing. And so go check it out. You can go check out our donate page at donate.mercyforanimals.org/vegan Alpletic is kind of the name of our trip. It'll be a great way, I think, to raise a bunch of money, raise a bunch of awareness, and also just do epic shit in the mountains, basically.
Yeah, that's amazing. We'll put the link in the description of the video below, so everyone watching, definitely check that out.
Yeah,
Sure.
and I'm interested in like, are you guys gonna be on Strava? Can we see every day your moves?
Oh, yeah.
If you're getting KOM and.
Yeah, we'll be on Strava. Like, I guess I could send you guys the links for all of our Strava, but yeah, it's gonna be me, my friend Ian Moore, and Griffith Pugh Jones. All three of us are on Strava. I'm gonna be vlogging the whole thing.
Yeah, post some Strava updates on your Facebook page or something. That'd be cool.
Yeah, totally. And so,
I don't know if you've ever tried to vlog. Like, we tried to vlog while in Europe last year. Good luck. It's so hard to do daily vlogs when you're traveling.
I'm not like, I don't have any huge expectations. I'm going to be filming a bunch of stuff. And as far as I know, all the Airbnbs that we're having have internet access. So I'm going to try my best, but
yeah.
I want to share that experience. And a huge part of it is the documenting of the experience. And so I'm going to do some podcasts from there as well. And sort of do my best to kind of share that experience, whether it's on Instagram, Strava, YouTube.
Yeah. But even if you just get all the footage and you're not able to make the vlogs, you can do it when you get back. But living in the moment, as you know, is going to be taking priority.
Yeah, totally.
Cool. That's so cool. We're stoked. Like, we wish that we're going to France here too next week. So it's a bummer we're not staying longer and getting up to the Alps. It's going to be a short trip for us, but that'd be fun. You're going to love it.
Do you have any tips? Do you have any tips for being in France?
They have really good vegan yogurt, really good vegan soy milk in the grocery stores. Galettes. I don't know if you'll find galettes in the Alps, so they're vegan. Yeah. They're savory crepes, and they're made out of buckwheat flour and water, and that's it. And they're vegan.
What are they called? Galettes?
Galettes.
Yeah.
So if you find,
check the ingredients, because sometimes they add butter, especially if, I don't know, it depends. But I don't know if you will find some in the Alps, because that's really something typical from Britain.
Would they have them in the grocery store though? So it's cool because it's like the French burrito. Or like tortilla. So if you're in a grocery store, look for galettes and read the ingredients.
Yeah.
How do you say take epic dumps in French?
Okay, think about that one.
Yeah.
But let's see. Okay, what other advice?
I'll figure it out. That's part of the adventure.
Similar to as you eat now, right? Like, you're not, because eating out in France, being vegan is really hard. But just making stuff on your own and eating eating what you do now, you're gonna be fine.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, we have some final questions. We've been going for like an hour and 40 minutes, which is so easy to keep going forever. We love talking to people like you guys. This has been a lot of fun. Should we ask our final questions? Just like random rapid fire questions? In here?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, so we will have like one of you answer first and then the other one. You guys cool with that?
Yeah, go for it.
That's cool.
So what does a typical day of food look like from breakfast or from waking up till dinner, till sleeping?
Oh, you want to go first?
Yeah, so like a typical breakfast for me would be like 2 pieces of sprouted grain toast, like Ezekiel, something similar to that, with hummus and then avocado and then salsa on top of that, or like almond butter and then banana slices, cinnamon and maple syrup. Sometimes I'll do that. Oh yeah, that's good. I really have been liking for breakfast recently Rip's Big Bowl. I don't know if you've had Rip's Big Bowl before. So no. Rip Esselstyn, it's his brand at Whole Foods Engine 2.
We love cereal, but we don't have a Whole Foods, so it's hard to find that brand. That cereal's really good. I've been doing that with like extra fruit and cinnamon and a little bit of maple syrup. Those are like typical breakfasts for me. And then lunch could be like a big bowl of brown rice with beans and vegetables and stuff like that. Or it could be like a whole wheat tortilla wrap. So like whole wheat tortilla, heat it up a little bit, put some hummus in the middle, throw some like spinach or some kale in there, and maybe some tofu or some tempeh and some sort of sauce, and just roll that up and eat those. And then dinner, we do a lot of what we call here the TFF Dilla, which is short for quesadilla. But that's basically whole wheat tortilla, refried beans, smothered on the inside of that. And then I chop up garlic. I put that in there. I put in spinach, sometimes onions, and then I will sandwich another whole wheat tortilla on top of that. And then I put it on the hot pan, and I just cook it like you would a quesadilla. It's so good.
Then I take that out, put it on a plate, and throw salsa and avocado, nutritional yeast, and whatever else, jalapenos, like whatever else sounds good to you. It's a huge plate of food, and it's really simple and fast to make. That's a typical. We do a lot of like whole wheat pasta and stuff with vegetables, burritos. We do a lot of that. Sometimes I just have meals that are just fruit, like just really simple, like just fruit or granola or something like that. But that's kind of a typical day for me.
Cool. Love it.
Mine's pretty different, actually. For me, like I do oatmeal pretty much every day of every morning. Big thing of oatmeal. Cook it with some like almond milk or soy milk, cinnamon, maple syrup, walnuts, peanut butter, molasses, turmeric, black pepper, fruit like bananas or frozen blueberries.
You better explain the black pepper thing.
Yeah,
so
that throws people off.
Obviously, turmeric is a really awesome like anti-cancer, anti-inflammatory spice, super cheap. But when you add pepper to whatever meal you're making it with, it enhances the bioavailability of it. There's a compound in black pepperine. What's that?
It enhances the bioavailability of the turmeric?
Yeah.
Okay.
By like 300% or something.
By 2,000%. So
okay.
one teaspoon of black pepper enhances the bioavailability of turmeric and like curcumin and all the bioactive compounds by 1,000%, 2,000%. Sorry.
So we gotta do that because
I'm gonna put pepper in my smoothie.
Yeah, and you don't even taste it when you put it in smoothies or oatmeal. So I do that. And also if you eat some fat with it, like nuts or seeds or peanut butter or whatever, like that also brings out those fat soluble compounds within the turmeric.
Yeah. How much should we add to our smoothie? We have flax seeds and stuff.
Quarter teaspoon of turmeric per day.
No, of the pepper.
Oh, I eyeball it. I just like.
So to get the 2,000%, you need a quarter teaspoon of pepper. I find that that's too much sometimes. Like if I'm making turmeric tea, it's just too peppery. So I just a pinch of it. It's fine.
Okay, cool. Love it.
Yes, that's my breakfast, and I'll probably eat like a second. I just eat a ridiculous amount of food, so I'll probably eat like a second breakfast, whether that's like some toast with almond butter, or a peanut butter and jelly sandwich or some cereal or fruit during the day. Like, you know, on a typical like training day, I'll probably have that oatmeal, you know, a few hours before my ride. And then I'll get back, and my lunch, typical lunch, which I've been having pretty consistently for like 2 or 3 years, is either a giant smoothie with like 4 or 5 bananas, frozen or fresh, with spinach or kale, frozen berries, ground flax, hemp seeds, chia seeds, maybe more molasses. I'm a big molasses fan recently. Yeah, just like whatever I have that like would be good in the smoothie. And then sometimes I'll just like pour that in a bowl instead of like drink it as a smoothie, cover it in cereal or granola or other toppings, pumpkin seeds, frozen berries, fresh fruit, mango, whatever. I just find I feel a lot better if I slow down and eat it with a spoon rather than like just chug down a giant smoothie. I sometimes feel bad after that. And so that's, you know, both a really awesome recovery meal as well as just a good lunch, and great way to like increase your greens and fruit intake. And then dinner is like just, yeah, super simple. Like most of the, like my favorite kind of meal is like a Japanese sweet potato, baked or microwaved, cut in half, topped with like, you know, heated up beans, maybe some like steamed or sauteed kale, broccoli, spinach, any sort of vegetable. Like last night I did it and I had some raw beets in there. And then like, you know, maybe some rice if I'm feeling it, if I need a little extra calories, like half an avocado or a full avocado on top of that, with like, and the sweet potatoes like slathered in tahini with sweet chili sauce, sriracha, or hot sauce. And with that's what's cool about that meal is like you can make it Asian style, you can make it, you know, Mexican style, you can make it, you know, curry style. Like there's so many different variations on that. That's kind of my favorite meal of all time.
You got me really into that. So like that's been kind of my staple dinner, is the Japanese sweet potato with beans and garlic and sauteed greens. So good.
And you can variate that, like make it more of a burrito bowl and like wrap it up in or tortilla, or I do like you know, kind of a tofu stir fry. Like I don't eat a lot of like tofu or you know, fox meats, as you like to say. But every once in a while I sometimes crave it, and you know, sometimes I'll go to Chipotle or you know, go get a Beyond Burger or something. But for 90% of my meals are simple as dirt.
Yeah.
Simple and cheap.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, we covered our next question on that too, which was favorite food. I think you guys probably, unless you want to throw out some other favorite foods, but
we should add
favorites.
We should add the TFF tea, the official Thought for Food tea, which is a turmeric mushroom tea that we do. I do this every single day, sometimes twice a day.
We drink it most times we do a podcast.
It's our podcasting drink. We make it for each other, and then we cheers, and then we like cough because the little turmeric particles the pepper gets caught in your throat. So we're doing that a lot. But no, it's very simple. It's just boil some water, 1/4 teaspoon of ground turmeric in a cup, pinch of sea salt, pinch of pepper, and then we really like Four Sigmatic mushroom products. So they make powdered mushroom extracts, all the different kinds of edible mushrooms, basically. And I'll put like a teaspoon of whichever one that I'm eating for the month. And then, yeah, the pepper, the turmeric, and then the mushroom, and then just add the water, stir that up, and you've got yourself like the most incredible disease-fighting, like anti-inflammatory tea.
It's a little bit of an acquired.
It tastes like dirt. I mean, it tastes like turmeric and mushrooms. Like that's not very good, but it's an amazing tea. It's an acquired taste, but once you get used to it, it's incredible.
I'd say my favorite single food is mango, and then my 100%. Favorite like meal is like a burrito bowl, like basically what I talked about.
Totally, I'm with you on that one.
I could easily live off of mangoes.
Yeah. I know, they're like my favorite thing too. But there's nothing worse than a crappy mango, because you're like so excited about it, and then it's
yeah.
That happened to me yesterday. Okay, what about one food that you could not live without?
Oh, sweet potato, maybe. Well, yeah. Mangoes, probably. I mean, I
skim milk.
Yeah. I mean, like, I don't know. I'm just trying to think. Like, oatmeal is like such a staple in my diet. I think I would have to choose sweet potato.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna either be whole wheat pasta or it's gonna be like Ezekiel bread, something like that. I just think bread is just like the experience.
Dude, grains
of like
cause cancer. How many times do I have to tell you that?
Sorry.
Jesus,
grains are
dude.
very cancer causing. I'm sorry. Just can you guys edit that out? Yeah. No.
Well, talking about bread and going back to your question about what you should eat in France, I mean, the
my
bread.
God.
Oh yes, so excited.
And do you like banana sandwiches?
Yeah.
We eat that all the time. Fresh baguette, banana, done.
Oh.
If you can find peanut butter, but peanut butter is really rare in France. It's the bread, you're gonna love it. Oh my
Yeah,
God.
I just think there's nothing like going to a bakery and buying a loaf of like the darkest, heartiest bread and just slicing into that and like putting some olive tapenade on that. I'm not sure I could live without that.
Gwen's the same way.
Yeah. I mean, I don't eat bread really in the US because I don't find any really good bread, but in France, I mean, it's amazing.
I believe it. I believe it. Bread's great.
Cool. Okay, last question is advice you'd give to your 20-year-old self.
Well, am I kind of excluded from that?
I know. 19, I was thinking of Jack. I was like, okay, younger self, but not too young, 18, 19.
Don't take yourself too seriously.
I'd have a lot of things to say to my 19-year-old self that are very inappropriate probably for this show. But wear a helmet when you ride your motorcycle. Don't go skydiving.
Don't go skydiving. I was gonna say that because we just listened to that. Holy shit.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say hang out with more intelligent, driven people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
I have one more thing. Is there any big news with TFF that you would like to share with us that is coming up?
Yeah, Jackson's pregnant, guys.
I didn't want to reveal that yet.
Sorry, I'm so sorry. I can't contain the excitement, and he's got a little baby bump there. You can't quite see it yet, but oh, there it is. You weren't supposed to show him. So he's due in December, and we're very excited about the man child that we've created together.
Yeah, Aaron's the dad.
I'm the dad, and yeah.
His name is going to be Ebenezer, the Kale Master.
When we first found your channel, I was like, what is up with the bromance between you guys? And I was like, I don't even care. I love it. And then
we've definitely had people legitimately think that we are a couple. And like,
well, it's funny because in the beginning I was like, I don't know. And I was like, I don't care.
Awesome.
Because it's
The fact
awesome.
that you weren't quite sure, like, then we're doing our job. We are doing our job. Wait till you watch the makeup tutorial. Then you'll really be confused.
Oh, God. Yeah, we don't really have, like, big news. I mean,
just really your trip.
The trip is pretty big. I think that's going to be cool. Yeah, I mean, stay tuned for the podcast. Like, we got some cool interviews coming up. Tomorrow's episode's awesome with Dr. Alan Lim, the founder of Scratch Labs. I don't know if you guys have heard of that as athletes. He's a big exercise physiologist.
I would say
we don't really have any ever really big, like,
we just grind like day by day. We're just like churning out more content and just doing our thing. One of the things we're trying to do is sort of make this take epic dumps hashtag thing really like viral. So we're gonna make some shirts, by the way, that say "Eat plants, take epic dumps," and that's true. And I know that some people will hear that and they'll be like, "God, okay, potty humor."
You guys are so immature.
You guys are so immature, but it's like it's a conversation starter about a subject that's actually very serious. Like, Americans are severely fiber deficient. Fiber is maybe one of the most important staples of a plant-based diet. It's one of the reasons a plant-based diet is so healthy.
It keeps the world flowing, if you know what I mean.
It keeps things flowing, but like, colorectal cancer kills millions of people. cancer is a serious thing. Fiber deficiency is a serious
Constipation
thing.
sucks.
Constipation is a serious thing. Hemorrhoids are a real problem. It's a small problem compared to cancer, but yeah, dysbiosis is a serious thing. So we want people to talk more about fiber, and we also want people to get comfortable talking about the one thing that everybody does, which is poop. And if you eat a high fiber diet, you're going to poop a lot, and you're going to, quote, take epic dumps. So we just want people, we want people not to be afraid of talking about that, and to sort of raise awareness for the importance of plants and fiber. And we feel like that's a message that, instead of my shirt saying go vegan, it just says eat plants, take epic dumps. Anybody can get behind that. The mainstream definitely can get behind that.
And no matter how many plants you include in your diet, you're going to like start to poop more, and like it's just going to work better, everything. And
pooping is just it's like the best 5 moments of my day, right? as I like to say, because I poop a lot, and it's a great experience. And seriously, like, the amount of people that I take care of at the hospital that are fiber deficient, who are literally hospitalized because they're impacted, like they cannot pass stool and we have to physically take it out of them. That happens every single shift. Like, it's a chronic problem. And what a lot of people don't understand about a plant-based diet is when you start eating high fiber foods, like suddenly bowel movements become this like really enjoyable thing, instead of this awful thing where you have to take Miralax and stool softeners like every day at the same time just to be able to pass stool. So anyways, that's our thing right now.
That's some big news.
That's the big
news. We're gonna try to help you out there. I don't know, like,
sorry if that was kind of a letdown, but
no, I mean, we think it's important too. We love it. And you know, being
we're also going on the Today Show. I guess I forgot to mention that.
You never know. That's gonna be pretty cool.
I would love to be able to talk about epic dumps.
I would love to go on like Good Morning America with both of us with that shirt on to just talk about the importance of fiber.
Yeah, they'd be like, what the hell?
Like, what about if our next live show we do it in the bathroom?
Oh God! Let's do it. Like you guys said, like, don't take photos.
Yeah, please don't
take photos of the food.
No photos. You could send. Okay, if I'm honest about it, people could take photos of their poop and send them to me because I'm a nurse and I would probably inspect it and tell you what's going on. But don't send it to Jackson.
Yeah, I want nothing to do with
that. All right, cool.
All right. Well, where people can find you, social medias, website.
Grassfedsteak.com.
Farmersonly.com /thought4food.
Yeah.
No. Like, probably the best place is definitely check out our podcast. It's on iTunes, SoundCloud, Google Play, Stitcher Radio, whole 9 yards, just Thought for Food podcast. You can find everything at tfflifestyle.com. We got shirts, we got podcasts up there. We have everything you need to know about us. We have an ebook all about protein for the athlete. And then, social media, Instagram, we're at TFF Lifestyle, Facebook at TFF Lifestyle. You can check out our YouTube channel, Thought for Food TV, if you want to see some epic Euro cycling vlogs. That's coming soon, so go subscribe. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Listen to our podcast. Subscribe.
Awesome.
Leave a review.
Yeah, leave a review.
Yeah, we love reviews. And thank you guys for having us on the show and for doing what you guys are doing, because I think mixing athletics and the lifestyle component with the plant-based diet is just like I think it's just like the ultimate combo. So it's really cool to find two smart, funny, like highly energized athletes doing the same thing. Thank you guys.
I really want to come hang out with you in Sandpoint.
Yeah. And you guys, you can, like, we say this on YouTube all the time, but our V&B is going to be open, and like we just can't wait to have people, like, cycling's good, the trails, you can see it in our vlogs. It's so much fun.
It looks like you guys just have way too much fun, and I want to be part of that.
Awesome.
And our dogs are really cool too.
Maybe when I come back from Europe and find myself in Idaho again, I'll come say what's up.
You have to.
Yeah.
Have to.
Totally.
Cool.
All right. Thanks again.
Well, thanks everyone for watching. People are saying thanks, great show. So people are liking it. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Right on.
Go eat some plants
awesome,
and
guys.
take epic dumps.
Yeah, we're gonna love that. Yeah, so subscribe to their channel and ours if you guys like this. Share it, please. It would be really cool. We are gonna try to do these every Wednesday. However, next Wednesday we're flying to France, so not next Wednesday.
All right.
We'll keep you guys all up to date on this, and I'm sure we're gonna be talking with you guys and collaborating soon.
Oh, big time.
Yeah, I hope so.
Big time.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you guys so much. Have a great night, and I don't know. That's it.
We see you soon.
We'll see you guys soon.
Big dumps, guys. Thanks.
Take over dumps. Love you guys.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.